Good morning from Patty's Garage. Today I am going to, let me back up. And some of the early running in and on the road testing, I have developed a kind of an uncontrollable idle speed. And what I believe is happening is that I've got a air leak back on the intake side on the manifold. And I kind of remember a little bit of a gasket issue when I was putting this together. So I'm going to attempt to resolve that. I've got a new manifold gasket coming in today. And so in preparation of that, I'm going to remove the carburetors and then the manifolds to reinstall a new gasket. And one tip that I've uncovered recently, if you're taking the carburetors off, dual carburetors off, what can happen is that they'll slide out of their joints where the linkage meets up with the carburetor. So to prevent that, what I'm doing is bolting front and rear on the carburetors with just a steel bar. And this is a scrap steel bar that I used when I was using that as a tool to turn the engine over from the flywheel. And so I've drilled a couple additional holes so that I can mount bolts to the front flange of the carburetors. And so now I should be able to take off two rear bolts on the carburetors, and this should all come off as a unit. And then I'll just set it aside over here on the side of the bulkhead, and I won't have to disconnect any of the throttle cables or choke cables. So this is bolted up. So the next step is just to remove the carburetors and heat shield. So as you can see, I've removed the exhaust and intake manifold. And one of the first things I noticed was that it appears that there's a little bit of an exhaust leak right around where the manifold meets the downpipe. And I had applied some high temperature sealant, exhaust sealant on that. And so when I reinstall, I'll be replacing that and maybe a little bit more, and making sure my alignment is nice and tight down in that area. And then let me put that down. And then secondly, and one of the prime reason that I was doing all of this is that I seem to have I have an issue where I can't, even though I raise all of the settings on the carburetors themselves, I'm still getting a high idle, and that comes from too much air entering the system from someplace, and I believed it to be at the manifold. And so looking at, this is the gasket that came off, and there's no real indication of breakage and so forth. But if you look at the indentation around this intake port, it's a nice, even spaced indentation around that port. But on this one, it appears that the inlet port doesn't really cover the hole. You can see it kind of drops off down at the bottom and doesn't quite clear at the top, versus this one, which has kind of a nice even spacing all around the port themselves, versus this one. So and that seems to be where I was getting noise and smoke and all that sort of thing coming on that towards the back side of the motor. So I think this may resolve my issue. So I have acquired a new gasket for the manifold, and I'll pay particular attention to alignment. Of course, all of that should align with the, as you put this in, the holes should all line up, and that should make perfect alignment there. But then how the carburetor bolts up will be another issue. And the exhaust manifold, because essentially that intake manifold, which, let me put that down, is over here. Let me grab this intake manifold. It doesn't have any holes. It just basically slides down in and then is clamped by both the exhaust and the intake manifold are clamped using the same center bolts on either side. So the key here is to make sure that when I install those and torque them down, that they are torqued properly, which I think is 18 pounds. And then I work from the center out, making sure that everything remains aligned. So I'm going to begin that process and check back when we get a little farther. Well, we've got the intake manifold mounted up. This particular manifold head this is an early engine, and the later ones had some inserts on the back side of the intake manifold to help you align those with the head. I can't find them. I had a set that I wanted to kind of try again because this is a 1098 head. I know they didn't work with the 948 head, and I thought I might give it a try. But in lieu of that, about the only way you can align these is to kind of center that. Here, let me see if I can zoom way in. Is to center that large washer between the two different manifolds. There's an inlet on both of those manifolds as they meet up, the brown and the silver. And so as long as that washer is kind of sitting in between those, pinching those down, that's about the only way to kind of get these aligned. There is still some play. So what I did was, once they were mounted in and snugged up, I checked level on the car, and then just kind of making sure that the manifolds are level, and then took a peek at, let me get that out of the way, then just took a peek to make sure that the gaskets back where the light silver, making sure that I had about that same amount of space on the inlet manifold back along both ends, and of course in the center, and that, along with the leveling of it, hopefully will center that manifold and alleviate the air leak that I was getting before. Now the next step is to I need to torque these manifolds down, and it's a relatively minor amount. It's about 18 pounds. That's one I'm going to use, and I'm going to start with the center, side to side, work my way out until I get to this outer one on the exhaust manifold. and hopefully that'll prevent any bunching in the center where the intake manifold is. So that's my next step. Well, progress is being made. The manifold is on and the carburetors are fitted back up. Not tightened down or anything, but certainly things are getting back in place. One comment that I want to make, because and mounting the manifold, I had mentioned that the torque rate was 18, and as I was approaching that 18, I started snapping the head studs, manifold studs. And so I had to dismount, fit a new one. Then I snapped a different one, dismount it, put a new one on. And at that point I decided, okay, I'm going to do this in steps. So I set it back to 15. Actually, I think I set it back to like 12. Tightened it up, got a nice little click on all of them. Went to 15, got a nice click on all of them. And then I put it back to 18, and I got a couple of good clicks, and then I got back to the point where it felt like I'm going to snap off a manifold stud. So I left it at 15 for the most part. And there's a couple of 18s in there. I think the outermost on the exhaust manifold. But everything is certainly at 15 or better, between 15 and 18 foot-pounds, and that's where we're going to leave it for now. Everything is kind of leveled up and kind of checked to make sure that the intake manifold was matching up with the exhaust manifold in terms of clearance above the manifold itself, that little clearance area. So I am going to continue on, refit the throttle cable that came out during this process, fuel and so forth, and then we'll try firing this up and see if we got an improvement.